Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. Now this is going to be tricky today because I'm going to be trying to share multiple Chrome browsers. So we'll see how this works out. Okay, so can y'all see Chrome browser says what's new in Elementor 3 Pro 3.7? Can y'all see that?
Yep.
Okay, and that's on about. Okay, so Elementor Pro 3.7 dropped, I think, a little bit less than 2 weeks ago, and I hadn't heard much about it, but I attended. We were going to do part 2 of our workflow series, but I attended a Elementor Leader monthly meetup week before last, I guess. And they were talking about this, and there were things that in this that I saw that I said, no, this is, I want to talk about this. This is, and it's so new that some of there's very little of this on, on YouTube or anything yet. So I thought, let's be topical and let's talk about this. So we kind of switched gears. And so what we're gonna, there's a lot that's new, but there's a few things I wanted to cover, and basically 3 things. We're going to talk about notes, which is a rather innocuous name. It doesn't sound like much, but it's very cool. We'll talk about they've added a ton of more dynamic tags. We're not going to go through all the tags because there's too many, and they all kind of work the same. I'm going to give a few examples. And then they've added a stripe button widget to where that, like if you just sell 1 or 2 items, maybe you have an ebook, or maybe whatever you might have to sell. You don't need to have a whole e-commerce solution. You can just do it directly with one little plugin, and you need a Stripe account. So that's what we're going to be covering. And let me move this. Can I do that? I'll put that over here. Close that. Okay. So let's go to our demo site. Okay. Let's take a look at notes. And as we mentioned in the introduction, Notes creates a dedicated workspace for you, your team, and clients or other stakeholders to leave comments and replies on the websites while it's in development and in progress, and gives notifications to the people that are involved, those that are selected to be involved, and then all the notes are stored in the site's database, and I'll talk about that in a little bit towards the end. But basically, let's go through what has to happen. To get Notes to work, if you have 3.7, it should be working right out of the box. Because if you go to Elementor settings, go to experiments, and go almost all the way to the bottom, you'll see Notes. You'll see it's green. It means active by default. If it's not green, then you can go over here and activate it. And then you can tell if it's active by your front end. When you're logged in, you'll see it right here. Now, Notes is similar to some other tools out there. There's one that's been around for 3, maybe 4 years, maybe longer, called Project Huddle. Are any of y'all familiar with that? I used it about 2.5 years ago on a fairly sizable project, and its functionality was very helpful, but it was cumbersome to set up. because you had to have a separate site to store all the comments and everything and interact with, and then the website that you were working on was kind of like a slave site. It was just very complicated, and it wasn't cheap. And I used it a few times, but it got to be so cumbersome I didn't do it. There's another product called Atarim.
I have that, Carrie.
Yeah.
And it's
Okay.
interesting because I think the developer of that, Vito, he's big buddies with the Elementor guys.
Oh
They're
yeah,
all
yeah. I
you know?
yeah. He actually I have a lifetime
Thing
subscription
for
to
that,
that, but
Kareem. He's expanding that too, and I wonder if that's
yeah.
kind of, I think,
Well,
probably
the
new to-
initial, if I remember correctly, the initial functionality of Atarim was is kind of what we're gonna talk about today.
feedback thing. It was all feedback. Now he's expanding it.
Yeah, I get emails from him all the time, but so we set it up in the experiments, and then we go to our users, and there's some settings for the users. Let's see, who am I today? I am Elementor Demo 360. So there's one setting I'll show you. When you're collaborating with different people, you can't, the way it's supposed to set up is that you'll get an email with their comments. If you don't want to get the emails, you can turn this on and off. And then, and I think is this mine? Yeah, then on the client, I set up a client user, which, like, you can collaborate with your clients with this tool, but when you add them, they have to be logged in to use this. And that's so that the public can't see it. But you just set your client up as a user with just subscriber permissions, which basically is no permissions really, other than looking at the site. But you can, so I've set up a client here, and he's a subscriber. And let's see, and then permissions, admins, which is what I am in this scenario, they automatically have permission to Elementor notes. If they don't, in their permission level, like a subscriber wouldn't normally have permissions, so you have to check that to allow them to have access to notes. So with that being said, let's go up front and take a look at what it does. Okay, let's say that I built this website, or this is in development, and I say I've turned it over to the client. Let's say I'm the client. And now let's do this. I'm going to open up a new window, and this is an incognito window, and I'm going to share that. So if I can find the right one. It's hard to tell the difference. This should be on a different page. Elementor. Let me change the page, go to About Us. Okay. Let me stop share. Share. And so I want this one. Okay. So this is the client window. So all I have up here is the name of the site and notes. So I click on notes, and I get this little window pop up. And then I've got this little marker that I can go in, and you'll see now, like if I close it, the page looks normal. But if I go click on notes, the page, you see there's all these, it's almost like being an editor to some degree. You can make comments on anything. So let's say, I'm gonna click on this and say, make line thicker. And I leave a note. Okay, you see it pops up here. And then let's say I go to a different page, and let's say I go to workshops, and I say, let me put notes on again, and I click on this, and I say, make caps, leave a note. Okay, so now if I go we'll look at some of these little tools here. If I go to these little dots, it'll tell me I can see the notes for the current page, which is what we're on. If I did all, because right now there's only the one note, but if I do all sites, close that, I see 2 notes. And if I want all notes or only mine, I can click on that, and then you can have it show resolved or not show resolved, and I'll go into the resolved only, or you can show unread only. So let's say I'm going to close this out, and I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to share my other one. And this is the administrator one. So I'm going to go to notes, refresh it, and I'm going to, so all sites, and you can see that the comments from the client here. So I can go here, and this little doohickey here will open up the page in a new tab, and I can see it's on, is this on the About Us page? Yeah. So I can see where it is. If I think, let me try this. I think if you go there, yep, it'll take you right to that page, place on the page. So let's say I made the line thicker. That's gone, and then I can check this to resolve it. This says who it's been seen by, so this has been seen by the client and me. And then I can also mark it as unread. I can edit it. Note that a client cannot edit comments, only administrators can. And copy the link, or I can delete it altogether. So, and you'll notice, if I click on this, it'll turns blue. If I get out of it, it stays white. And then let's say that I want to resolve it. I'm just going to say, okay, this is done, it's resolved. Okay, so it is, now let's go to here, and it's right now it's saying show resolved. If I unclick it, it goes away. But if I show resolved and I put all sites, you can kind of see it. So if I go to the workshop, it takes me to that page, and click on that, and it opens that up. And so that would we can go back and forth, and then you can have different people. You can have 3 or 4, you can have team members. One thing too, let's say that, let's say I wanted to, let's close this. Let's make, do another note. If I want, let's say I had a bunch of team members or anybody, I can specifically send a thing to them by tagging them, by hitting @ and then it puts all the people who are in the list. So I'm going to tag this to @client, and this was done. So you can send it directly to them. Let's see here. Yeah, you can take someone, go back to this. Shows you that you can turn off the email notifications, and clients can't edit notes. Showed you these, and okay. So one of the benefits of this, I used the Project Huddle, which is very much like this, and it was very helpful, because I mean, if you think about it, you build a site, even if it's just maybe it's the first look at the home page, and you give it to your client and you send it to them, and then they might send an email with a whole bunch of things, screen captures and little hand-drawn things or instructions that are not clear, and then you've got to wade through all this. But it was my experience in using a tool like this that I could get these things and I could just go through the list and knock them out, knock them out, knock them out, knock them out. And it can be done without having any time of day. I could be working at midnight and I could still do it. So that is one of the cool things about this. Now, one of the deals that I hope they have, like a wish list, which, this is just introduced. I hope that in time they will have a way for you to have a history of, because this kind of serves as a history. I mean, if you keep filling it up, it'll be history, but it's kind of cumbersome. But, sort of like in the Elementor forms, you have that list of submissions. It'd be cool if, because in the documentations, it says all these things are stored in your website's database. So the stuff's there. And so there's got to be a way to surface it into some way to use it. And so, that'd be probably a good idea for a plugin, but probably not profitable, because I would imagine that Elementor is going to do that at some point. I think it would be useful. And this is part of Elementor Pro. It doesn't cost anything extra. So I think it's pretty good. One thing I would mention, just from my experience of using a tool like this, is when you are introducing your client to using this tool, you need to kind of set some boundaries and guidelines, because people can go nuts with this. And also suggest you wouldn't leave this on all the time, because people could, while they're on their website forever, just constantly putting things to change. You might have windows of time where you would open it up, but because you can just turn it on and off if you want. And so have any of you, I think Sue, you said did you use this kind of functionality as part of Atarim?
Yeah, I used a Tarim before it used to be called WP Feedback.
Right, right, right.
He's building it into a whole new vast thing. I haven't used it lately, but I had a couple of kind of large projects where there's a lot of tweaking and minutia, and it made it a lot easier. And clients, it was very intuitive. It was very easy for them to use.
Yeah,
And you can go through and click through the list. This got done. This is still pending. He's added a lot of stuff to it. I haven't used it lately, but I did purchase it early on. I'm not sure what kind of, I don't know if I have a lifetime or not, but it was very helpful. Probably not necessary for a small website, but on larger ones, especially if there's a couple people on the client side who have to comment, and it just saves a lot of emails, and a lot of notes back and forth.
exactly. And there's a good clean, well, if they develop the table of the
Yeah.
history, like I hope they do, be a good clean record of everything that was done. So I'll our
It's
next
gonna be,
elementary leader meetup, I'm going to mention that is a for a wish list.
good idea. It's going to be a challenge to other people who have a similar product that you have to pay for. It's like a premium thing. I'm sure they're going to be adding things as they develop this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So then we can go here and just close that out.
Can you show us again how you added a client? You added someone who could comment?
Sure. I just, let me get, I think I just went in to users and added a new user, created a username, their email, and had them be a subscriber. And then once they were a subscriber, there's lots of different ways of doing this. Usually what I'll do when I add a subscriber is I'll put their username and I got their email, and then and I'll have send the new user an email about their account, and I'll send them an email saying, well, before I do that, I'll say, you've been added as a user. You should receive an email from WordPress with your login information and instructions on resetting your password. And then most people have no trouble with that. So, and then once they're set up as a user, depending on what I want, let's see, there's something about notes. I can allow them to access notes or not. And that's pretty much all you have to do. And that's pretty much it. Brian, you have any thoughts now that you've actually seen it? Or you saw it earlier today on that meetup, didn't you? Is there something that they talked about that we haven't talked about?
No, we covered everything.
Okay. Now another thing that in Elementor 3.7 is Stripe button widget. And I've already set some of these up. So let's see, let's go back to the home page. And so if we go to check out our workshops, and I said, let's learn more. And then register today. See, it has Stripe there. We click on that. This page is being generated by Stripe. See, it says check out Stripe. And this is just the logo that's on file for my account with Stripe. And they, very straightforward, pay with, put their email in, their credit card information. And of course they can, if they want to, save their information. This isn't saving it on the website, your website, it's saving it in Stripe. So you don't have to worry about security or anything like that. And it's not just my site. It could be used. You could use it on your account on other sites as well. So how did we do this? So close, go back, workshops. Oh, there we go. There. Okay, so how did we do this? Let's edit with Elementor. Okay, so this is basically a button, but it's a stripe button. You can find them by just going up here and type in stripe button. And I've styled it, and let's take a look at it. So you put in the product name and the currency that you want. And of course, there's tons of currencies. It's my understanding that I do it, if I was selling this here, I do US dollars, but if you were in Kuala Lumpur, let's say, we were talking about that earlier, and I don't know what the currency, I think it used to be something like a rupiah or something like that in Malaysia. Stripe can convert the money over for you, I think. Put your price, and you can have, this isn't as fancy as WooCommerce to where that the customer can set quantities. You could have different buttons for different quantities. Let's say that you were selling boxes of Girl Scout cookies, let's say, and you had 3 columns set up, and you might have the particular kind of cookie, and you say 1 box, and the next one would be 2 boxes, and the next would be 3 boxes. Simple to do without having to go through all the rigmarole of setting up stuff in WooCommerce. You can do shipping. You would need to get that from, well, let's see here, what are the dynamic tags? I don't know why they have that as a dynamic tag, but anyway. And then the tax rate, you can get tax rates from your Stripe account. So we put in the product name, currency, price, quantity, and then we go to the button and what we want the button to say. And then you have a choice of icons. So we could say none, so there's no icon. And then this one here is, this one I think is the default. Like when I first loaded this in, that was the icon. But I went and looked at it, and I said this and this. And at this point, I don't see any kind of settings to adjust that style unless the typography works for that too. Let's try that. Yeah, it does. You can't separate them, it doesn't look like, but they're linked together. So this is going to be 19 pixels, and that's going to be 19 pixels. So anyway. So we got the button. You can alignment, where you want the icon to go, and then additional options. You could redirect somebody to a different page. And I can show you that in a sec. And I'm running this in a test environment because that's why that's on. When you get happy with what you want, you can turn it off, and then you can be going gangbusters. Let's exit to the You see that, somebody in the waiting room, Brian? Okay, good. So let's get out of here. And let's go to, let's see. I have to remember where settings were. Oh, it was in Elementor settings. Integrations. Before you can do Stripe, I don't know if any of y'all use Stripe on your Elementor websites, but to do the integrations, you have to put in your test secret key and your live secret key. And if you have a Stripe account, what you want to do is be logged into your Stripe account. And then once you're logged in the Stripe account, then click the link and it'll open it up and direct you to your test secret key and your live secret key. And then you can validate it. It'll put a little green check. And then once that works for when you're in test mode, which is what we're doing now, but once you go live, it'll use this one here. So there's that. Let's go back to the front end. I want to show you one other button. Let's see, where did I put that? Oh, Stripe test right here. I created a fictitious product. So let's say we're selling stuff, and maybe I could have 3 or 4 of this lamp. And of course, this is the old, the other format for the Stripe button. I can click on that. And I can put in my email. And I don't know if y'all have ever used test credit card numbers for testing, but let me find it. It's usually 4242, yeah. 42424242. And then you just type in whatever you want, as long as it's in the right format. Of course, we're testing. And I'll put zip 20046. And I'll say pay. Whoop. Okay. Then I'll say pay. Now what this is going to do, it should redirect me to a thank you page. Thank you for your purchase, yada, yada, yada. Now, what I would probably do is obviously not have this, because I was doing this on the fly earlier today and I should have taken this out, but of course you could always buy another one. And then the Stripe buttons, I see that as being, if you have, let's say that you have some kind of lead magnet, or you have a, let's say, like, I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with Kyle Van Dusen, the admin bar, but he came up with a product called the Website Owner's Manual. He calls it a WOM. And he sells it on his site for like $20-30. Well, if you had some kind of, and it's just a PDF with, it could be a book, it could be all kinds of stuff. Could be a code snippet, like if you've ever been to Elementor. Y'all familiar with Elementor How? I think this is the right. I don't know if that's the right URL. Let me do this way. Yeah, here we go. Okay. He does tutorials. He has some videos, but he also creates little code snippets to create animations and tricks and stuff. And you can just buy them on the website. And so if you were doing something like this, where you wrote up some, say, a JavaScript, custom JavaScript to make something do a particular cool thing, you could package up the code and sell it using the Stripe button. And you wouldn't have to get into any kind of e-commerce stuff, because that can be pricey. And I use WooCommerce for care plans and for maintenance package, well, and for people to pay through FreshBooks. But WooCommerce has got these add-ons, like the subscription add-on for WooCommerce is $200 a year. They don't even give you a discount after you've had it a while. So e-commerce solutions can be expensive. So let's go back and what other? So there's the Stripe buttons, and then in the promotional material for 3.7, they talk about dynamic tags. And I imagine most of y'all are familiar with dynamic tags. They say they have added 100 plus dynamic tags that have been added or enhanced, have been added to or enhance 24 Elementor widgets. And they've, just as a short list, they've said they've added widgets to gallery widget, or added the dynamic tag gallery widget, countdown widget, portfolio widget, price table, login, block quote, Facebook comments, so on and so forth. And I don't know how elaborate some of these dynamic tags are at this point, or how much there will be, but this could potentially begin to eat into some of the revenue of some of these Elementor add-ons that are geared towards dynamic stuff. I don't think they'll ever affect, was it dynamic.coo? They've got so much dynamic stuff. This probably would put a dent in it, but you know, they're adding stuff to Elementor that makes plugins obsolete. In the last year, there's 2 or 3 plugins that I've stopped using because I don't need them anymore, because Elementor has it built into the software. So I just did a couple of simple dynamic tags because not everybody is familiar with how dynamic tags work. So if you'll notice here, this is on the admin. Where I'm logged in is me. It says welcome Carrie, and it's the admin side. And let's go to, we'll share a different screen. We'll share, let me go to a funky page. We'll do this so I can tell the difference when I'm trying to share a screen. If we go to this one, if I go back to the home page, it doesn't say welcome Carrie. Well, why is that? Well, let's take a look. Let's go back to, can y'all see this? My cursor moving around, make sure I'm sharing the right page. Okay, got it. So I'm gonna stop sharing that one. Let me get to a different page so I can tell the difference. And so I'm going to stop share, and I'm going to share, and I'm going to go to this one. Okay, so let's go back to the home page. So what's up with this? Let's edit with Elementor. Okay, now this is just a text editor, And what I've done here is I've used a, let's see if I can remember this from scratch. Okay, so I'm going to add a new heading. I'm not going to restyle it, but I'm going to go to dynamic tags. And then what I'm looking for is user info, and that's usually under site. So I'm going to user info. Okay, so, and what I want to use is I want to use the first name. And then I want to go to advanced and say welcome. And put a space. And then after, I'm going to put a comma and update. And then I can go in and style these to be the same font, size, color, whatever. That's dynamic tags. And I'm sure some of y'all have can also do it on forms. Let's go to the contact. Let's go back to the page and go to the contact us page. Now you'll see here, this is set up and it's automatically adding my name and my email address because I'm logged in under this user. And let's see how that's done. Okay, so we got the name. Type text. Well, you know what? I forgot how I did it. Oh, here we go. Advanced. Okay. So we have advanced, go to user info and just got first name. And if I wanted to use it somewhere else as a short code, I could do it here too. And then same thing for the email. Advanced, user info. And of course, this is just for logged in people. Now, I don't want that. So we're back home, and what does the other one look like? So stop sharing that. It will share this other one. And you can see that here it doesn't have my name because in the user for this particular client, the client, I didn't put a first name in it, so it just has name, but it has an email address, so it's automatically populating. So that's kind of how that works. And you can use dynamic tags all over the place, and whether it be, you can not just from users, but you can have things come from, you can hook it up to all kinds of email systems, like ConvertKit, mail. I think you can do it with MailChimp. Things like there's just a plethora of things you can hook up with the dynamic tags. So that's pretty cool too. So, all righty, did I miss anything, Brian?
No, you covered the three things.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about how this works or how they could implement this? I guess that's a no. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna love it for clients, obviously, but also collaborating with our teams as well. That's going to be awesome. The notes feature.
Mhm.
The notes feature. Dynamic tags, it's always good when Elementor adds additional dynamic tags. So, and I think that Stripe button is going to be a game changer because you can create easy product pages without having to go into some massive WooCommerce.
Yeah, and it's easier, probably, it's a low barrier to entry.
Correct. If you need more functionality, then you can obviously go to WooCommerce. The only thing I had noticed about it was when you were at the checkout page, it didn't have a place where you could have the image itself. So having the image there, the marketer in me is saying that just confirms with the customer that they are purchasing the right item, because they see it when they hit the button, but then they don't see it again until they confirm it.
Well, let's go to stat. It kind of depends on how you build out the page.
Well, no, it's actually on the Stripe end side.
Oh, you're talking about this. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you have that open area. And since you're at Stripe, there's really nothing you can probably do, but you do have it before and you have it after in the confirmation.
Mhm. Yeah. That's a Stripe thing. I'm not sure that there's much we can do about that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you mentioned, besides Stripe, what else does it support? What other kinds
Oh, this
of-
particular widget is for Stripe, but Elementor also has PayPal integration too.
Ah, all right, great.
Yep. And then
What is that? How, is that a button like this?
to tell you the truth, I've never used it, so let's look and find out. Let's go to settings, integrations. I use let's see, PayPal. Sue, you got an answer for that question? You still with us?
I think she had to sign off. I don't know.
Well, she's still there, but she
Oh,
might
she's
be.
muted, yeah.
I'm here. Say
Yeah.
that again. I have,
You ever used PayPal
yeah,
button on Elementor?
yeah, I've used it for clients. Yeah.
Okay, I've never used the PayPal button. You want to walk us through how that works? Or if you
Oh, it's
can,
pretty
from
easy.
memory?
I think actually I worked on a site where we ended up switching to Stripe from PayPal because people liked it better. Essentially, you just need all the login info. There's a, I use Gravity Forms. So
Yeah, well, that's a different deal. Yeah,
yeah, so honestly, when I had the Gravity Forms, it was a free add-on for PayPal.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
never used PayPal directly through Elementor. I don't know if there's any kind of free plugin you can use,
Well,
but
there's let's see, here we go.
yeah, I've always done it through Gravity Forms. Sorry.
Yeah, well, this here is a, am I still sharing the screen where my cursor is moving, Brian?
Yeah, yeah.
We can see
Okay,
it.
good. I think the PayPal integration might be part of the Elementor Forms.
There might be one in Forms. Or
Actually,
is there maybe even a widget?
I don't think
Just for
PayPal is a separate button or
No.
widget. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Actions,
Yeah, I've only used it through the Gravity Forms, but
click email.
maybe in the Elementor form.
Well, I
By
know
the
they
way,
do it.
I think the simplest thing actually is I can make a PayPal button on the PayPal site You know, they give you the code, you know,
Sure, yeah,
and you embed the button, and when you click, it just takes you to PayPal, and, you know, because I don't, my case, I don't have people logged on. You know, they're
Yeah.
just people
yeah,
coming,
yeah, yeah,
so it'll take them right to PayPal, and it asks them to enter all their information,
Yeah,
and
you just put
then I
it.
get an email.
PayPal will feed you a button and you can just drop it into an HTML.
Right.
yeah. I've got one, I still maintain one old website for a charity that's all HTML.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I talk about freaking your brain out when you, because she only has stuff to do like twice a year when they have a big barbecue fundraiser about this time of year, and they do some other stuff, but it's like I have to reconfigure my brain to think back to HTML. You know, it's hard to believe that you used to build everything from scratch. And but yeah, we use the PayPal codes. But you build the PayPal buttons in PayPal, and then you get a code, and then you put it into the HTML, and it shows up and works.
I think PayPal even might supply you with different images, different types of buttons.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Embed
Just-
whatever you want.
See,
Just drop it into an HTML widget in Elementor.
Let's see, Elementor PayPal button. Let's see here, add a PayPal button to WordPress. Let's see,
Oh, there's a widget.
edit PayPal button. So there must be a PayPal button.
Just need
Oh,
to
it's a
figure
widget.
out where it is.
Yeah, let's go to a page.
Yeah, just do a search. It must be a widget.
Yeah,
Yeah, edit your page.
Yeah, Rune said it's a
Now
widget.
now search for an HTML.
well, here we go, PayPal
There
button.
it is,
Button
PayPal.
right there.
button. There it is. All right, cool.
Okay, so, and then let's see.
Style it. I would imagine.
Yeah,
Well, that's pretty cool. You can do a subscription.
yeah. Because I have a site, we have subscriptions to our chair yoga classes. So I could do, you know, I could save myself a lot of time now. That's great.
Right.
Because right now they have to pay at PayPal, then I get an email, I got to register them.
Oh, yeah. And you get, let's see. There's different icons you could use. I don't know why you'd use those, but
Yeah.
How does the subscription work if they're not logged in?
Oh, I do that part by hand because it's, you know, we don't have
Well,
that
let's
much
see.
activity. But I get an email from PayPal once they paid. And then
transaction type, subscription,
I send them an email.
billing cycle, monthly.
Right.
But they don't need to be logged in, I guess, because probably what happens,
Yeah, it's going to send them to PayPal.
let's see here.
How do they know which subscription they're paying for, I guess is my question.
Let's
So,
find
yeah.
out.
Yeah,
Might
Let's
have
find
a-
out.
I'd have the text on the button would say, you know, subscribe to online class, you know, chair yoga
let's
class.
see, we'll call it.
Yeah, I guess I'm saying, how do you know it's Jane Doe's or John Doe's? Whose subscription? is it?
I think it does it on the
PayPal end.
The
If you
PayPal.
click the button, it opens up PayPal, you know, in a
Yeah.
new tab, and then asks them for all their payment information. I then get an email with that info.
Oh, see, I've got, it says no payment method connected. I bet I have to set up integrations with,
You have to get code from PayPal to add to the button. But that's simple to do.
yeah. Let me see here. So
Get into your account, log in and set.
settings, integrations, drip, active campaign, PayPal, Stripe. Go back. Okay. We were on strike test. Let's
I just think you have to put your PayPal email address in the widget.
Maybe partly
That's
in your
enough.
PayPal account. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your PayPal account.
You have to put in your email account,
Right, right,
email address associated with your PayPal account.
right.
So,
So the subscription part is managed at PayPal then, how it's gonna link it
exactly.
up.
I'm trying to remember what, I have a PayPal account, but I can't remember what email. I've had so many email addresses over the years. But what would happen is, well, let me take you
You want
to,
my email address and you can try it out?
I'll show you what it does. This is that old HTML site I told you about.
Right, right, the donate now.
And so they
Yeah,
go
that's-
donate now. This is what
That's a
happened.
PayPal button.
Oh, they're using somebody, that's a different one. That's a graphic that I created from a
Yeah.
PayPal button. Here's, let's see. Okay, so this takes you to PayPal
Right,
and it has a name, and here you can change the quantity,
Right.
so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And if you continue shopping, it'll take you back to the site. And you can, let's see, I want a pint of slaw. And it adds all that.
right.
So if you had a subscription, it would do that.
Yeah.
And then you have to be logged into your PayPal account to set up all this information that's here.
Yeah.
Is set up in the code for the button.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, that I do. Right now what I do is I email people, the PayPal button. I hadn't
Gotcha.
really thought about that. I can just put it on the website.
Yep.
Cool. Well, you made my day.
Mhm.
Well, hopefully, that's interesting. It does the subscriptions, because now that I think about it, although, well, but PayPal, you can pay with credit cards too.
Right. Yeah, and PayPal, when it goes to the PayPal site, it gives you the choice of either paying with your PayPal account or entering your credit card. It does all that automatically.
Well, in my WooCommerce subscriptions add-on subscription comes up for renewal. I think it's around November, December. I might give it some thought about whether or not I want to spend that $200 again,
Right.
and maybe go a different way. So cool.
Yeah, PayPal, it's it's $30 a month on PayPal in order to handle subscriptions.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, you have to have a lot of subscriptions, but
No.
if you're doing care plans or you're doing hosting, that
Right.
might not be too bad.
Oh, we have our subscription's only $4.99 a month, but I've got a
Oh.
lot of, low price, high volume.
Gotcha. Okay. Alrighty. Any other questions on this particular material? Because we also like to open it up to just general Elementor questions, like if you're working on something that just is giving you a headache and you can't figure it out. Maybe we can help you out. Anybody have
Yeah,
any?
okay, I've been in the software business my whole life.
Okay.
For quite a way back before there was a lot of this stuff. I used a tool called WYSIWYG Web Builder. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
No, not that particular one, but obviously.
Yeah, but it's actually an amazingly good tool, but it's not as sophisticated as WordPress and Elementor, but you could do
Right.
a lot with it. Anyway, so I'm new to WordPress and Elementor,
Okay,
and I think what I'm finding out is when I design pages, I nested too much stuff, because I'm starting to go back now and look at the speed of the pages. And I think I nested too much, I would make I was nesting too much stuff inside too many other things,
yep,
which obviously is generating a lot of code so I
Oh,
think
yeah.
I need to duplicate those pages and go back and,
well,
start all over.
Elementor has you in mind. Let me see if I can find it.
He needs to go watch our video from 2 months ago.
Yeah, there's, we'll get you a link for that in a second. Let me,
Okay.
but what Elementor is done, and still working on it. Where is Elementor settings? Experiments. Elementor has an experiment called containers. Let me find it. Did they move it? Did they make that live, Brian?
I believe it is live now.
Let's see.
How cool is this gonna be?
Let's see. We'll go to contact. Because Elementor used to operate off of sections, columns, and intersections.
Right.
Now it's still calling it a section.
Uh-huh.
But let's see what Brian's talking about.
But no, I thought you could convert your sections to lost my train of thought.
Containers.
The containers. There's a way you can convert your sections to contain. This is a website that was already created. Oh,
Could be. Yep. Let's
yeah,
get
so
back.
since it was already created, you don't have access unless you convert that whole section to a container.
And Brian, that's been 2 months ago, and with my brain, I have forgotten it. So let's try to do a new page. We'll call it containers. I don't know if
Okay.
we'll
Cool,
publish it, and then we'll edit with Elementor. And let's see what happens. Nope, it's still calling it a section.
Mhm.
So let's go back and see where. Come on, Elementor set. Am I looking in the right place, Brian? Experiments, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's where it was when it was in beta.
Flexbox.
Right, there it is,
That's what-
Flexbox
There it is.
container.
Okay, and it's an alpha, so we can make it active.
Okay,
And now don't do this on a live site.
no.
So let's go back and see the deal with containers, because containers work off of Flexbox. And whereas before you would have to, you do an example. Let's create a new page. Pages. I don't think I saved that containers yet. Edit with Elementor. Okay, let's make sure this is working. Okay.
Oh, that's a container now.
Yep. In the old days, well, it's still that way now because containers are not actually part of production. But in the old days, let's say you had a section and you had maybe a title and you wanted to have 2 columns underneath the title. You'd have to put a nested section.
Right.
Okay, so today you can go do a section, put a heading here, and then we can, well, center that. And then we can add, and you'll see this, what this is. And if we go to the navigator, this is a container,
Right.
and it has two more containers.
Uh-huh.
They're not considered columns anymore.
Uh-huh.
And one of the interesting things about containers is they can, let's see what we got. Because I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with Flexbox, but the way you align things, and there's, let me
I
see,
just dropped the link. I just dropped the link in the chat.
for our
Oh, cool.
meeting on Flexbox.
No, for the guide where you're probably about to go, to the guide to Flex.
Yeah, complete guide to Flexbox. Got it.
Yeah, that was, I think that was, let me see, YouTube.
So I take it containers are much more lightweight than sections.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And you can compare it, like say you are converting a page
Right.
from
Right.
sections. You can take a look at the code and you'll see how much. Once you duplicate it and you have the same exact content in one and the other, you
Right.
can take a look at it and see how much lighter it is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Flexbox
Oh, yeah.
containers is really a game changer. You probably won't ever create with sections ever again.
Well, we actually did two meetups on it.
This is Webflow Interactions.
And let's see, put
Right.
this.
So that's the YouTube explaining it.
Well, this is a recording of our meetup that
Right.
took place a while ago, 2 months ago. There's that, and because that was posted 3 months ago, and then we did a part 2. And I'll get that. So you can go, and we go through it all, and but what it allows you to do is, rather than having nested containers,
Right.
let's see, how can I explain this without having to take a whole lot of time?
All right.
With containers, the Flexbox thing, like there's different ways to align things.
Yeah.
And there's the horizontal axis and the vertical axis, and you can combine things. You can do all kinds of interesting layout type stuff.
So you just put like text boxes in and then you can move them around.
You can put text boxes, you can put anything.
Any widget. So
Any
you put
widget.
widgets. You put widgets inside the container and then you move them where you want them.
Right, and you can put, and unlike, the old way, you could have a section and you could
Right.
put an intersection.
Right. Yeah, I
But you
know.
couldn't put an intersection inside of an intersection.
Section. Right.
With containers, you can put a container inside a container inside a container inside a container.
And putting
Not
container.
smart, but you could.
Right. Yeah. All right.
And
Well, I'll play around with it and I'll, and you think it's safe to use?
well, no, it's still it's not part of the default WordPress, but you can play around with it.
Yeah. All right.
Do it on a staging site. It's in alpha
Yeah,
stage
right.
right now.
Okay.
But I've been watching, when I first heard about or learned about Flexbox and CSS Grid about the same time. But when I first learned about Flexbox, I thought, wow, this is really cool. The only thing was back then it was, you had to hand code it all. And it was and it was
Right.
counterintuitive because it was so different from anything
Right.
else. And it kind of languished a little bit because there were people who had built some tools to try to automate it. And there are themes now, like a lot of WordPress themes are adopting Flexbox. There's about 20 sites that I built a number of years ago before I started using Elementor that I used the Avada theme for.
Right.
And so I still maintain them. And I've noticed in the last 6 months, Avada has moved over to using Flexbox because I can see it in the code. Which one of the reasons that Elementor has gone to use the containers, the Flexbox container, that's what they call it, is because Elementor was getting a bad rap for code bloat.
Right.
To the degree that exactly what you were talking about.
Right. Right. Yeah.
That
Yeah. Especially with mobile devices now,
sure.
it's really critical. And that's what Google looks at first now is how you perform on mobile, not on a computer.
Right, how fast you are. And
Right.
with Google, a few hundredths of a second, milliseconds, a few hundreds of milliseconds can make a difference.
Right.
Which is kind of ridiculous, but
Yeah. Right.
I mean, a human being wouldn't be able to tell the difference, but
Right.
I guess you have to have some kind of metric.
Right.
But and I think in one of the videos that we did, and it might have been the part one, I think we showed the difference between the code with the page using containers versus using sections and columns and nested
Right.
sections. And you can also tell by looking at it in the navigator, you know, that,
Right.
you know, this tool, because you could, you know, you can tell how complicated your stuff is getting by how, like if you just, so it, that'll be a cool thing too, when the containers are out. I actually kind of am surprised they're not out
I'm
yet.
gonna go. I'm gonna get on their support and send them a note and ask them if it's, you know, when they think it's gonna be safe to use it.
Yeah, well, check out those two.
Yeah, the videos, yeah.
And we tried to go in, obviously, because we took two months to do it, go into fairly good detail. Of course, things could have changed since then because it's been 3 months since we did the first one and 2 months since we did the second one. And this, you know, this stuff changes. So
Yeah,
very cool.
yes. Oh, thank you. So I'm on your mailing out list now, right now that I've registered for this.
Yep. I'll whenever we post, we try to do, we used to do this the second Thursday of the month, but then we started having conflicts with one of our other, there's a WordPress meetup that Brian and I were both part of that's here locally. And so then we moved it to the third week. So we try to do it every month on the third Thursday of the month at 7 o'clock.
Okay,
So that's when we try to do it. Now we got kind of jumbled up during COVID a bit.
right,
And then Elementor changed the way they communicated with the public on their meetups, because it used to be done through meetup.com
right,
and now it's on events.elementor.com. And that transition was kind of bumpy because, well, it was just, Brian and I actually thought about, do we really want to continue doing this? Because it was like,
right,
when you go into to publish, to make an event live, like, okay, we're gonna put it out there and let people start signing up. That first couple of times, man, I felt like, it's like, press the button, is it gonna break anything? So. But it seems to be okay now.
Yeah, yeah. Good. All right. But I'll get emails from you and.
Yeah, you'll get an email probably over the weekend with information about the recording for today.
Right. Okay.
Time, and let me stop sharing screen. And so, any other challenges that any of y'all have had with Elementor?
How do you get yours to run so fast? I mean, I notice your load times are like ridiculously fast.
Well,
where are you hosted?
I host with the WP Engine.
Okay.
And I could go on for a day or two about WP Engine, about why I use them so much. They're pretty fast. I try to build sites that are not overly bloated. And I have optimization tools going. Like I have experimented with a bunch of different ones, and some of the most expensive ones are not necessarily the best.
Best.
Yes.
Find that out.
And
What about, I understand using that WordPress running on a Lightspeed server is way quicker than an Apache server. Is that
could be
the correct understanding? Yeah, I use Rank Math for my SEO. They've got some really, I don't know if you are familiar with them, but they, compared to the other.
I've not used them, but I am familiar with them in the terms of knowing about it. And there's a fella who usually comes to our meetups named Oscar. He's the co-chair for the Dallas Elementor meetup, and he's a huge fan of Rank Math.
Yeah, they're real. Talk about lightweight compared to things like Yoast. I mean, it's like
yeah,
they're in another world.
Well, part of the challenge for Rank Math and for users is, if you've been doing this for a while, you might have dozens of sites that are running Yoast, and to change all that over is no small task, particularly if your website has 75 pages and 400 blog posts and all this kind of stuff.
Right. Oh yeah. And how do you justify the cost to the customer?
Yeah.
Customers going like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Well, I'm not that familiar with Rank Math. You may be able to just flip it, because
I did. I turned Yoast off and turned them on, and worked like a charm.
Because like when I first started doing WordPress, I think I used all-in-one SEO plugin. And then I learned about Yoast, and with Yoast, you had the ability to, when you had all-in-one SEO going, you install Yoast, and Yoast would talk with all-in-one SEO and take all the stuff, the keywords that you're using, the page title structures, the meta descriptions. It would take all that and incorporate it into the Yoast installation. So maybe Rank Math does that too. I don't know.
And they have an SEO. They have their SEOs built into Elementor. So on every page you can go to their SEO, and they tell you exactly what you need to do. And the last month or so, they've added an AI service to it. So you just click on the AI and it fixes up a bunch of stuff and says, okay, you're set now. And you can do it right on the page.
I'm gonna have to check that out. What does
it
seems like when Rank Math first came out, it was either free, or they had a free version that had a lot of stuff. What's it like now?
Yeah, they have a free and a pro. But the pro is worth it. It wasn't that much money, and it was, worth. And their training videos are just, have so far been really great. I mean, they
Okay,
really know.
You remember what it costs per month, or is it per site, or how
Uh,
is it priced?
I think they've got like everybody else, there's plans for how many sites you need to have it for.
Right. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it is definitely worth it. I mean, the SEO on each page while you're in Elementor, I mean, it's like, well, because with Yoast, I had to keep going in and out and in and out. Just,
Well,
it's too
Yoast
complicated.
Yoast has been added to Elementor too, but Rank Math was first, and I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, yeah. I know Elementors they're going through some business challenges because now they're offering their own hosting service because they're really afraid of Gutenberg.
Well, I'm not sure what their motivation is. I don't see. Brian and I sat in on a meetup with Elementor for the people who do these meetups for Elementor, and they were talking about the Elementor cloud.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I don't see it.
No,
The
it's
point of it.
it's just a knee-jerk reaction to Gutenberg. I mean, they're getting, they want to lock the customers in. Challenge is there is no good way to convert a site from Elementor to Gutenberg. I mean, it's,
No, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see how I check in with Gutenberg every now and again to see where it is.
Yeah.
But for my clients,
Yeah.
the kind of clients I get, it doesn't do enough yet.
Right.
I have clients that, want stuff that it's nothing out of the box is the way they want it. So
Right.
Elementor is so flexible. I can create custom things. So, well, we're getting close on time. One more opportunity.
Anybody got a theme that they like, is really lightweight that they like?
For using with Elementor?
Yeah.
Well, I use Astra.
Okay.
The Hello theme is the lightest weight, but that's made by Elementor. And Astra is free. Hello theme is free. Astra also has an add-on called Astra Pro, which you pay for and gives some more functionality. But they're both pretty good.
Okay.
I'd probably use Astra over Hello, because Hello is just basically is like the scaffolding. There's really nothing in Hello.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so,
Great.
but there's all kinds of. One thing I will mention, we mentioned this last month meetup, that if you're looking for you're going to be using Elementor, and you're looking for a theme. If you're after WordPress 5.9, which came out last month or the month before.
Yeah.
If you use a block-based theme,
Uh-huh.
which there's not many of them out there yet, but they're building them more and more. If you use a block-based theme, Elementor won't work very well. I mean, some of it'll work, but it doesn't work right in a block-based theme with WordPress 5.9 or above.
So what do you have to? It works, I guess, with Gutenberg. Is that the?
Well, yeah. I mean, the idea is that you use blocks.
Yeah.
The Gutenberg, well, I guess they're all Gutenberg blocks, but they call them there's all kinds of block things.
Right.
There's generate blocks. There's Blocksy. There's all these, but it's the same kind of deal. But
Yeah,
I'm not sure where it's gonna go. It maybe, in 5 years,
yeah, right.
Gutenberg will have evolved and matured to where you can do so many cool things that
Right.
Elementor is gonna be,
Right.
I don't know what they'll be doing.
Yeah, well,
But
right.
they will have made enough money to live off of by then, so.
Yeah, because everybody's gonna, the sites that are built, I mean, I can't afford to go back now and start all over again. And
Right.
Gutenberg's not, it's still got a lot of stuff missing.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, I
Well-
think the cloud thing, I think they need to do more stuff like the container and the flex box. That's their business, this, getting in the cloud business. Yeah, according to the rank math people, being on a Lightspeed server is like, night and day compared to Apache. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to get a hold of, I'm hosted right now by HostGator, and I got to get on with their support and find out if they have a if I'm on the Lightspeed or not. And
I doubt it. I don't,
probably not.
of course, I haven't used HostGator in a long time, but the reason I'm using WP Engine today was because I used to use HostGator 10 years ago. And I had 20 sites go down in 5 minutes.
Woo!
Um,
Bad.
and so but it was cheap.
Yeah.
And
I haven't had any out. So
you
I
get
ought
what
to,
you pay for.
yeah, I'm going to look into WP Engine, but you don't know for sure if they have Lightspeed or not.
Well, they have extra options. They have Apache and
Yeah, there's another one besides Apache, but
I can't remember.
yeah, but the guy said those two compared to Lightspeed, it's a big
Well,
difference.
there for a little bit extra, you can have your site run through. Well, a lot of their stuff now is being run through Google Cloud, and
Right.
you have options there. But my sites seem to run pretty quick, so.
Yeah, well, I can tell. I mean, when I try to load up an Elementor page, I mean, I could take a nap.
Well, you want to fix that, so.
Yes, I know.
All righty, guys. And,
All right, thanks a lot. Look forward to seeing you all next month.
Yes, sir. It's nice to meet you, and
Yeah,
we'll
cool.
see you next time, Bruce.
All
Yeah,
right,
Brian.
take care.
See you later, bye.
I'll see you tomorrow, Brian.
Okay, bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.